Some may find it surprising that this kind of channel has managed to finish 215 games before covering a single Mega Man. This was a semi-deliberate choice. When I first started, I didn't want it to all be the same games everyone else has done, so some series like this one were deliberately put aside in favour of the few more obscure games. But I wasn't expecting to take this long to get to it. Mega Man was never a huge childhood series for me. I only discovered it at 9 years old in early 2002 when we finally got the internet. My grandmother or aunt, I forget who owned it, later had a Dreamcast disc filled with Mega Drive ROMs, and that's where my first time playing a Mega Man game was with the Wily Wars version of this game. But I wasn't very good. I think I managed to kill Fireman though. Then when we got SNES 9X and our original Xbox, I did try out Mega Man 7, X and X3 a lot, but still wasn't very good. Then the first Mega Man game I would physically own myself would be Dr. Wily's Revenge on the Game Boy. This will be my first time beating this game. The closest I came before was back in late 2013 on the Wii U Virtual Console, which ended when I couldn't beat the Yellow Devil. This playthrough is being done through the Mega Man Legacy Collection. For the story, in the year 20XX, Dr. Light has changed the lives of all mankind with the robots he built to assist them. But out of nowhere, most of those robots turn on humans and start attacking them. This includes his 6 Robot Masters, more human looking and more advanced than the rest. Dr. Light quickly puts together that his old rival Dr. Wily has stolen and reprogrammed the robots. But he missed 2, Light's lab assistant Rock and Rock's sister, the cleaning robot Roll. Rock volunteers to be converted into a fighting robot to take on the stolen robots and Wily, becoming Mega Man. On starting the game I have my 6 Robot Masters to tackle in any order I want. I always used to hear Cutman called the easiest, but to cut down on backtracking I start with Gutsman. Being the first game, Mega Man's moveset is at its most limited here. To start with, I can only run, jump and shoot. First enemy is the Metor, Metual, Metal, and probably a million other variations. The ones who hide under their hard hats and show their faces to shoot a freeway spread. Though for me, these guys are more famous for a certain Mugen adaptation who famously killed Sailor Moon mid-sentence. Then we get the moving platforms along tracks over this pit, and we can see it's been a decade since I last played this stage. I actually lose all 3 lives, game over, and then lose the first life of my next set on that same jump. But I get it on my 5th try. There are 3 tracks at different heights I need to travel between, and there are some gaps in the tracks that make the platform flap down, dropping you into the pit if you don't jump in time. Of course, I'm still not used to the game again and lose my last 2 lives to that first gap. A few more deaths and I finally make it to that 3rd platform. I even managed the jump at the end first try. I'm improving. That's when the Bunby Helis start appearing, hovering above me and then swooping. They hit me a few times until I decide to outrun them to these steps where I'm in range to shoot them. There's at least a large piece of health for me to recover what I lost out in the open. Past them is the game's equivalent to a Hammer Brother, Pickle Man. They even throw their pickaxes in pretty much the same arc. I have a few jumps to do while dealing with a few of these before I reach the end of the screen and descend to the next. These next few screens have a few platforms I can aim my drop to land on, some of them getting me health that I then lose to the helis anyway. I missed the extra life on the last one though as I drop to the bottom and face my first big eye. These hop around and take 1,000 shots to kill, so sometimes if I'm at high enough health, I'll just take the damage and run through them. Past that is a door to a met-filled corridor. At the end of that is my first boss battle against Gutsman. Gutsman can jump and cause tremors that stun Mega Man in place. Then during that he brings down a boulder and throws it, which then splits into 2 small boulders. I refuse to get down from these 2 rocks and keep shooting, catching him in the middle of his jumps. This height also makes it very easy to avoid the thrown boulders with a single jump. Gutsman never figures out my strategy and keeps jumping into my shots. I started this level unable to accomplish a single jump, and ended it defeating the boss without being hit. Defeating Gutsman gets me his weapon, the Super Arm, which allows me to lift and throw certain large objects. Next up, I start Cutman stage. This first screen starts with 2 floors separated by several ladders, with gaps in the top floor and walls blocking off parts of the bottom floor. It's also filled with more Bunby Helis. Past the first pit is the Blaster, which can only be damaged when it opens up to shoot, but I get past them and climb to the next screen. The next screen is 3 blasters between me and the 2 ladders to the next screen. That leads to more blasters and ladders, and then a 3rd. Up one more screen takes me to the roof with this machine spitting out supercutters, and past it the hopping Kamadoma. Across a couple more pits and we have the adhering Susie, who will move back and forth between 2 walls. Then comes more ladders to another screen. This time I'm climbing past more Susies instead of blasters. Despite still taking damage, I find the Susies easier to deal with, as any hit will deal damage and I can usually just focus on one at a time without the risk of another shooting me. Although this one on the next screen designed to hang out in a tiny gap I need to jump through is pretty devious. But I get past it and get cramped into a space with 2 more. By this point I have only 1 square of health in my life bar, so I'm a little nervous. but I make it through to another roof with a supercutter machine. I can see a large health, but there's more hellies in my way. You can actually see me pause here, shitting myself because I thought I was about to get hit. But I get through and heal, then take this ladder down to the next screen. This one adds the Mambu, a flying shell that opens up to shoot an 8-way spread. I lose a chunk of the health I regain getting past it to climb down to the next screen, and then even more going down the next one. Another big eye here. I finally get my first death on this stage when it crushes me, but thanks to the Deaths from Gutsman stage, that was my last life. Game over, so I have to repeat the entire level so close to the end. I make it back to the big eye with almost full health, but then end up near death, remembering that I shouldn't bother fighting them and just running ahead. Past that is the corridor to the boss, filled with screwdrivers. These lift from the floor when you get close to fire a 3-way upward spread. Past a few of those is Cutman himself. I switched to the super arm, his weakness, then died because I chose to do so when Cutman's projectile was inches from my head. Next time I equip the weapon beforehand. While Cutman throws his little boomerangs at me, I pick up the 2 boulders and smash them into his face, each one removing a full half of his life bar. I grab myself his rolling cutter to finish the level. For my third stage, I choose Elekman. The first screen has a series of platforms with these Gabiol moving along them. They freeze in place when shot, but the standard Mega Buster can't kill them. The rolling cutter can, but I daren't use the ammo. It leads to me taking a beating trying to climb these platforms, and by the time I reach the ladder, I'm nearly dead. The next floor has them on very narrow platforms and I take another hit on the way to the next ladder, not even trying to grab that health. The third screen looks identical to the second, but with the Gabiols replaced with these electric blocks that send a current in a horizontal line towards the wall. I just need to time my jumps through correctly. I manage that and the next screen is one long ladder climb, but then as I get to the top, a watcher descends from the top of the screen and snipes me before I can react, killing me. Next time I have a lot more health, so I just brute force through it and up the next full ladder screen. The top of the ladder has my first appearance of the infamous disappearing blocks. Once I figure out this pattern, it's simple and I take the right ladder and have to cross more disappearing blocks to climb outside and to the next screen. There's health here, but I'm not risking smacking my head against that block above it and falling in the pit, so instead I jump across the blocks to the ladder to the next screen. 2 more ladders and a screen filled with watchers. I climb the outside ladder, remember I want the inside one and climb that, having wasted most of my health. So of course I get killed by the first bit of lightning while climbing the next screen and game over. I make it back and climb to the next screen and climb the ladder after that. The next screen contains the reason I went for Gutsman first. Throwing these crates with the super arm allows me to reach the magnet beam. This will shoot beams that can be used as temporary platforms and is required to beat the game. I take the right ladder again to the next screen, avoiding more lightning to reach another screen with lightning that leaves me a hit from death. Above that I'm cramped in with more Kamadoma, getting me killed again. I make it back up with more health and get rid of the crate blocking my exit. From this side I also have to use the magnet beam to get out. The longer the button is held, the longer the platform is. Thanks to the space in between the cannon and the start of the beam, it can be a bit dodgy to use in thin spaces like this. I climb up to reach another roof with more blocks leading to another ladder. Next floor jumping over electric blocks to the next ladder. Up here is the big eye, but I run right under it to reach the boss corridor. I have another ladder climb with more lightning to avoid, and after 2 screens of it, I reach Elekman at the top. He throws a big lightning blast that has me a hit from death in seconds. But then he decides he doesn't want to hit me anymore, and throws the rest of them over my head while I swap to his weakness, the rolling cutter, and hit him 3 times to kill him and gain his thunder beam. That's half the Robot Masters down. I then forget the order of the weaknesses and go for Fireman next, not having his weakness yet. To start with, I have a series of ladders to traverse with screwdrivers to deal with. When I reach the end and see the rising fire pillar, that's when I realise I chose the wrong stage. There's also these fireballs, Chanki, shooting out of the lava below and dropping from the ceiling. Past it, I climb up to the second screen. This one has 2 units of health protected by fire pillars. I just ignore them and climb to the next. The next one has me avoiding touching fire while trying to squeeze into this small tunnel. I do not get through unharmed. And then we have horizontal flamethrowers like the lightning in Elekman's level. I alternate dealing with both of those things until I reach the end, making sure to drop into the health before I take the ladder down. 2 pillars and a gap to cross to the next ladder while more fireballs rain down. The next screen is even more fire pillars and falling fireballs. I take a few hits but otherwise make it to the ladder at the end and go up. This next one is more ladders with a series of pipes in the middle with flames passing through and one open gap that I need to time my run through properly. Balls to that, magnet beam around it. Up to the next screen is the first killer bomb, this bullet bill Medusa head fusion that moves in a wavy pattern. I have to deal with them and more Gabiols while going left and right down a pair of ladders. The Gabiols turn out to be very easy to accidentally despawn. A few more gaps to jump and there is the door to the boss tunnel guarded by 2 more flames. I was so close to beating one of these levels without dying, but one of the screwdrivers in here got me. At least since I was inside the tunnel, I start again inside it. Screwdrivers on the ceiling are a pain in the arse, and I get to Fireman. He throws out these tall fireballs at a high speed, and I, having forgotten the weaknesses, tries the Thunder Beam on him. Turns out it works very badly on Fireman, and I die. Next time I just chase him into the corner, start spamming the Mega Buster and get into a damage race, then I win, getting me his Firestorm weapon. After quickly losing my last life to get a full set of 3, I go for Iceman next, the one actually weak against Elecman's weapon. Right away we have the Crazy Razy. Blow up its legs and the rest of the body will start flying and become much more annoying. Shoot it in the face first to avoid all that. After a few of them, I drop in the water where the wavy pattern moving Pepe gets introduced. I very impressively manage to collide with almost every single one on the way out of the water. At the end of the screen, I refill my health by taking out the Susies blocking the big health item, plus one of them dropped a small one on death too. Then I drop down to the next screen. More disappearing blocks here, made much worse by a dickhead Gabio sliding around under my shots. It even kills me, but the checkpoint is in this room at least. I have no explanation for how I managed to get past some of these sequences, even just saying I learned the pattern or memorization doesn't feel right. It feels like I only get past it because I have no choice but to. I get dropped into a screen with more disappearing blocks. After a lot of failures, I essentially will myself across, as otherwise I won't see the rest of the game, because it certainly wasn't skill. Up here we have a series of footholders, robots that I use as platforms. They still try to fight back to me though, but I am above their guns so it mostly doesn't matter. It goes fine until this bit of ground to signal the halfway point of this part, which is when Pepe's come flying by. But I still manage to make it to the other side. The hole at the end has an extra life I can grab, but I fail to slide into that tunnel. I do manage to land in front of the row of health refills though. Drop down another screen to find the big eye and slide right under him to the boss tunnel. A few Pepes on the way to Iceman. He jumps around spitting 3 ice shots at once before moving and doing it again. First I try the Firestorm, but die because that's not his pissing weakness. I next try the Thunder Beam, and he dies in 3 shots, getting me the Ice Slasher. That just leaves Bomb Man, the one out of the 6 I always forget about. Bomb Man's stage is also one I kinda forget about. I remember the stage itself, the background with the Dragon Ball-esque lollipop buildings, but always forget it belongs to Bomb Man until I play his stage. First, I let myself get killed to start again with 3 lives. The start of this stage is crawling with Kamadomas. Then the pits have bombs launching out and exploding into 4 bits of shrapnel. Usually just pressing against the wall before them will keep you safe. Just don't jump while the explosions are still on screen. Then a few screwdrivers before I reach the ladder to the next screen. This screen has 4 blasters in a row, and getting shot can have you fall back to the previous screen, which will respawn the ones you do kill. A few attempts to take them all out, get that big health refill, and climb to the next screen. This one introduces the Sniper Joe, hiding behind a shield and only vulnerable while shooting. I then get the same platform layout I had with the bombs, but with blasters and killer bombs. Up a ladder, and I'm expected to drop down and climb back up, but instead I take damage and jump through the enemies to reach the next ladder. Next one has me jumping platforms to the next ladder while watching out for killer bombs coming from behind. The screen after has me jumping across blocks while avoiding Mambu fire, but I get my first instant death by spike at the end. But it's okay as I climb the ladder past them next time and drop into this gap in the wall to grab myself an extra life. I drop down and run to the end of the screen to reach the boss tunnel. I drop down this shaft instead of taking the ladder, getting hit by several Susies on the way down, and drop into Bomb Man's room. He jumps around throwing bombs with a large explosion range, but I just keep pumping him with the Firestorm until he dies. This gets me the Hyper Bomb. Defeating all 6 Robot Masters unlocks the Dr. Wily stages in the middle of the selection. We get his first eyebrow wiggling of the series. The stage starts with 3 big eyes. Fuck 'em, just run under 'em, don't waste your health. I then find a tunnel filled with crates requiring the super arm to shift. Then comes fire pillars for the Ice Slasher to freeze. Need to time it right though, as otherwise you'll end up blocking your path forward. Climb the ladder to the next room and jump over the spikes to reach the ladder to the next. Then a swarm of dickhead Kamadomas knock me back down the ladder. I get past them and super arm these bottom crates to reach the next ladder going down. A few spike pits to cross while avoiding killer bombs next. Of course, one of them barely nudges me into a spike. But this room is where the checkpoint is. Get through next time and drop down. This screen is filled with footholders with both the floor and ceiling being spiked. I prepare to resort to the magnet beam, but actually make it across with little issue. But I do need the magnet beam for this next screen. Need to be efficient and not waste the ammo on unusable platforms since I do need to climb twice to reach that ladder. Despite that, I almost run out when I do get to the ladder. Through one more corridor and we get the boss of this stage, the reason I hadn't completed this game before this playthrough, the Yellow Devil. First, its individual parts fly by and I have a hard time avoiding them as they come together to build the whole thing. Then I tell that boss to go fuck itself with the Thunder Beam pause glitch. Make sure the beam connects, then pause and unpause quickly, causing the beam to register damage again. For some reason I couldn't get this to work back on the Wii U, and this is revenge for giving me trouble those 10 years ago. I feel no shame in using this. The Yellow Devil is destroyed and I can move on to Wily Stage 2. First I'm travelling across these 14 bridges with a load of helis getting in my way. I find my way inside and fall through the floor to have a rematch with Cutman. No boulders to use the super arm with, but he's easy enough with the default gun. I drop through the floor again for more bridges covered in screwdrivers this time. Next when I drop down, inside is Elecman. I get too cocky staying still and spamming fire and he managed to cause me some serious damage before I kill him again. I drop through the floor to more bridges with bombs jumping up between them. This time when I reach the end I climb down a ladder. There's 3 Susies in this cramped space. I take out the first 2, but the one at the bottom I thought couldn't be avoided and finishes me off. I get through next time, taking the damage, and drop down to the next screen which is also filled with Susies in cramped spaces. This time I remember that the Thunder Beam also fires downwards, so I wipe them all out and keep climbing down. More Susies, so I just drop down and take the damage to get down the ladder quicker. 4 blasters aiming right at some ammo. Ignored. 3 Susies and a blaster to navigate around. I manage it easily. I then drop down into the disco room for my next boss. A pod lowers from above and copies Mega Man, creating an exact clone. He even copies my chosen weapon. Since he starts with more health and this is my first try, he kills me. That gets me another game over. I make it back with all my lives, but no health, so I get killed immediately. For this one I use the Firestorm. The clone likes to jump around a lot and the extra fire barrier on top of the fire shots gives me more chances to hit him. It's still a close one though and I only barely win. Now for Wily Stage 3. I have these wide tunnels filled with Susies and screwdrivers to drop down. There's so many that once again brute force and post damage invincibility get me my progress. I reach the bottom tunnel that suddenly lights up blue and sends me charging forward. Killer bombs try to fly into me but get shot as soon as they appear on screen. But their explosions start catching me, so I just stand still and let the screen push me forward instead. At the end I get the level's boss, the CWU-01P. One of these will fly through the holes in the walls and ceiling, and at first I take them out with the boulders left for me here. After that they start flying around the screen faster and shooting at me, but I just can't hit it with anything and get killed, and the boulders don't respawn. It turns out my problem last time was that they take little damage from most of the weapons. Just standing still with the Mega Buster does end up taking them out, albeit with me low on health. Wily Stage 4 now, the game's final level. First 2 screens of ladder climbing and dealing with watchers. Then at the top I use the magnet beam to climb these rocks to get the large ammo refill at the top. Next comes a hallway of screwdrivers with several copies of Gutsman in the ceiling. Then a couple ladders leading to the moving platforms from Gutsman's stage. There's an extra life, but I'm not risking it as I run for this teleporter at the end. My rematch with Bombman is at the other end. He gets a few hits in, but that slight Firestorm ammo refill helps me take him out again. Then back into the teleporter to rematch Fireman. His first shot kills me. I'm checkpointed back at Bombman and lose over half my health since I have no Firestorm ammo left to cheese him with. But this time I get to use the Ice Slasher on Fireman and outdamage him to death, ending up at low health again. Back into the teleporter for Iceman, who I have no choice but to kill without taking damage. That just leaves Gusman, who is weak against the Hyper Bomb. But the arc of the bombs are a little awkward and I'm taking no risks, so I use the same pattern I used on him first time with the Mega Buster. Back in the teleporter where I'm taken to the final boss corridor with an ammo refill in front of it. The final boss reveals itself, the Wily Machine, and it takes my last life with its first shot. One journey back through the level again and I reach the machine with the same amount I did last time. So I die from the first hit again. But I have extra lives this time. The machine flies slowly around while this cannon fires bullets in a slight unpredictable arc. I use the rolling cutter for this one as it can hit the cannon multiple times with a single shot. Destroying the cannon breaks open the cockpit to reveal Dr. Wily. Not Dr. Willy as I always thought his name was as a kid and found hilarious because I was 10. I keep up with the rolling cutter but the new big laser he starts shooting kills me instead. Next time I use the same strategy but my rolling cutter runs out of ammo while working on Wily himself. So instead I hang out close to him and use the Thunder Beam's upward shot to hit him. I get very worried when my ammo meter drains faster than his health meter, but through some incredible luck, both empty on the exact same shot and Wily is defeated. He hops out his machine and starts grovelling and, I fucking swear, this positioning was unintentional. As was the game pausing on declaring victory while Mega Man was mid-blink. The fact the ending starts with claiming that Mega Man ended the domination of Dr. Wily just had me thinking, don't lie to me, I just saw him start it. But Mega Man's battles will never be over until all destructive forces are defeated. and also because Wily's going to break out of prison at least another 10 more times. You know, the opening part of the ending song always makes me think it's going to go into Pollyanna from the Mother series. So Mega Man gets out running all those credits, somehow managing to change without breaking his stride as he returns home to Dr. Light and Roll. I was honestly surprised to see Roll actually appears in this game. I thought she started off like Impa in the NES Zelda games, part of the story but only mentioned in the manual. Normally that would be the end, but Legacy Collection adds a challenge mode. So I'll go through the Mega Man 1 challenges available to me right now. First up we have MM1 Remix 1. This puts me through several short sections from many levels while under a time trial. I want to complete it fast enough to get the 3 Mega Man helmets next to the challenge. First time beating it I just get the one for 2 minutes and 36 seconds. I'll just show my successful one since there isn't much interesting to talk about. This one takes me about 30 minutes to get the gold. Then the next challenge available to me is Yellow Devil. Just use the Thunder Beam pause trick and get that gold in 40 seconds. There are more Mega Man 1 challenges, but they require completing more challenges, and the others that are available to me are from later games. So what I'll do as I work my way through this collection is, for example, whenever I get to Mega Man 2 and do its challenges, I'll also complete any new Mega Man 1 challenges I unlock in that video. And I'll keep that up for any later games I do as well, doing new challenges unlocked for the previous games. But there's the first Mega Man game, a game I'm very happy to finally finish. Maybe it's because I've hardly touched the later games on the NES to get used to their improvements, but I don't feel the common consensus I've seen of this game feeling outdated, badly aged, or even especially cheap. Especially when it comes to the difficulty, as the Yellow Devil was the only part of the game I found hard enough to hate, and there's an easy enough trick to get around it. In fact, of the 3 famous, difficult but popular iconic third-party games on the NES, between it, the first Castlevania and Ninja Gaiden, I found Mega Man the least difficult and frustrating of the 3. Definitely the easiest and most enjoyable to control. I do find it around those 2 games as level, but I think I liked Mega Man more, but not as much as other NES games I've covered like Zelda 2 or Contra. This may not even be the last time I visit this game, as there's still at least Dr. Wily's Revenge, The Wily Wars, and Powered Up to check out in the future. But I do think this is a pretty good start to such a long series. I know the next game in the series is generally considered its high point, but I suppose we'll see if the same goes for me if I ever get around to it.